I'm right now at this beautiful beach in Koh Phangan, north of Koh Phangan, and I think the best beaches are definitely up north. So if you're ever coming to Koh Phangan, just know that the beaches in the south are not really that impressive because most of the time they're not really swimmable when it's low tide and it's really, really rocky. But this one seems really beautiful. Check this out. Look how beautiful that is. And it's a lot less crowded than in the south. Yeah. So if you don't mind being somewhat secluded from everything, definitely come check the north of Koh Phangan. Yeah, I just love being on an island, bro. Like there's something that feels so free when you're traveling Thailand and you hop on a scooter and you just start exploring the island, and it's like you just come across this beautiful beach and suddenly it's like, wow. It's the spontaneity. That's one thing I've realized about traveling. The best trips, you want to do some planning, okay? But you want to leave room for wonder. You want to leave room for exploration, where you can just be spontaneous and then serendipity, you know? So try not to be too controlling when you're planning a trip. Sometimes just go with the flow, because then when shit like this happens, it feels 10 times better and it makes the whole trip way more memorable. So let's talk about building a personal brand. I feel like that term is so overused nowadays that it becomes just like noise, where people forget even what it means. So let's try to define what a personal brand is, right? And as always, I like to use examples when I'm explaining stuff, because it makes it so much easier for people to actually visualize and, understand the concept if it's very abstract. So think of the best personal brand that has ever existed. If you're religious, if not, that's fine. Just bear with me. So take Jesus Christ, for example, the Bible. I would argue that he has the biggest personal brand that has ever existed. So if you were to dissect, well, what exactly his personal brand was comprised of, it would pretty much boil down to a couple things. One would be he had a belief, and I think this is the most important thing. Another word for belief is he had a why. He had a reason. He had something to strive for that was bigger than himself. And it could be an idea, a cause, a belief, a purpose. But ultimately, I think the best word that sums it up is a belief. He believed in something, right? In order to build a personal brand, you need to have a very, very strong belief. It could be that you believe the world take Mother Teresa, for example, right? She had a belief that the world should be a better place. And everything she did reflected her belief. Like, I was reading this book by Simon Sinek where he talked about everything you do must show people what you believe. If your actions don't represent what you believe, well, then you're not taking the right action. So one is you must first have a belief. Okay, if you don't have a belief or a why you're doing something, you're not going to be able to build a very big personal brand. It's not going to be successful. It's going to be super hard to get off the ground and scale it, right? And all the biggest personal brands, they all have a very strong belief, a very strong reason why. Yeah? The second thing is they have a story. So like Jesus Christ's story, you know? I'm not very religious, but everybody pretty much knows his story. So you need to have a story that people can actually get to know you through. And you need to get really, really good at sharing your story with the world, with your audience. Putting yourself out there. And sure, it might be embarrassing. It might get you out of your comfort zone. But that's what it takes, and that's what life's all about. So you need a story. You need to be able to share that story. And here's a quick tip for, by the way, if you want to start your own personal brand, DM me the word waitlist. And I'll reach out to you and we'll hop on a call if you want personalized coaching on how to build your personal brand. Anyway, here's a couple tips for learning how to tell your story. So when I first started, I used to think that telling my story, okay, so here's where I'm different, right, from most people, which I thought it made it super difficult for me to start a personal brand. See those dogs? Man, you gotta love Thailand. Even dogs are happy in Thailand. Anyway, so because I had such a different life, I had so many different things happening that I thought that my story was too different that nobody could relate to it, right? But that's because I was trying to tell my story the wrong way. So here's a couple of tips for telling your story the right way. You wanna literally just word dump. You wanna put all your thoughts on paper. And you wanna write as many details, events, chapters that happened in your life. And put everything down so you can see it, you can visualize it. Now, about 90% of that is not gonna be in your story. Because you're gonna realize that it's just noise. You wanna single out the chapters, the events in your life that were super memorable. They need to be eventful when you're writing your story. So then that boils everything down to maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 points. Maybe 10's a bit much, but let's say between 5 to 7 points. So you come up with these 7 main events that occurred in your life that define your worldview, your philosophy, your belief, your why, etc. And I go deeper on this with my students. So if you want to be able to tell your story in a way that makes people inspired and excites them into taking action, yeah, DM me the word waitlist. Anyway, so you need a belief, you need a story. Think about like Jesus Christ, like I mentioned before. He definitely has a story because everyone has a unique life. So because of that, you have a unique story. And if you know how to tell your story the right way, you know how to tell an interesting story. Even if your life is super boring and nothing ever happened, trust me, you can make your story as interesting as it gets. Alright? Especially if you've had a lot of struggle, especially if you failed a lot, that makes for the best stories. Especially if they're super embarrassing or cringe, you're literally sitting on a gold mine, right? Think back to Jesus Christ, like the guy supposedly died, right? Come on. Anyway, so you need a belief, you need a story, and you need to have an enemy. You need to have something you stand for, and you need to have something you stand against. Right? Every strong brand has an enemy, something that it stands against. It has a heaven that it's running towards, and it has a hell it's running away from. Okay? It needs to be polarizing. There needs to be some controversy. It needs to push people and pull people. It needs to attract, but it also needs to repel. Because if you market to everyone, you market to no one. And if everyone likes your brand, nobody remembers your brand. Okay, so don't be afraid to have people disagree with you. And what's the saying? Ruffle some feathers, right? Luckily, like I personally never had that issue. I'm somewhat disagreeable. So I love getting to the bottom of the truth. Like I'm obsessed with the truth. And I've learned after traveling 42 different countries, you meet people and me being disagreeable, or it's much deeper than just being disagreeable. It's that I'm obsessed with the truth. And if someone's telling me something which I know is not true, I tend to like follow up with so many different questions that it seems like I'm disagreeable when I'm really just trying to uncover the truth by pressing them, and it might seem like I'm cornering them verbally, and a lot of people don't like that. Anyway, where was I going with this? So be obsessed with the truth, and when it comes to when it comes to coming up with your brand's enemy, let me give you some examples. Like I said before, think of Trump, right? Hate him or love him, he knows how to build a brand, right? He's a super good marketer. Well, during his campaign when he was running for president, his enemy was fake news, right? And mentioning that, he also had a slogan, "Make America Great Again," which is what he stood for. So everybody who knew him knew that this is what Trump stands for. One simple sentence. Another thing about branding, it cannot be complicated. You need to market your brand as if you're marketing to 11-year-olds. Like, if an 11-year-old can't understand your message, then it's too complicated, unfortunately. So, simple. So he had something he stood for, and he had something, he had an enemy, which was fake news. Look at Andrew Tate, right? His enemy was the Matrix, okay? He built arguably one of the biggest brands in the world. So, you need to have an enemy. Ideally, it doesn't have to be unique in the beginning. Eventually, you're going to make it unique. Like my enemy, I call it the script, which is the default life society hands you that keeps you obedient and numb. So let's recap. So you got a belief. Now think about if you have a strong enough belief, it means that you believe that the world should be a certain way, or you believe that life should be a certain way, okay? It doesn't necessarily mean that you have the skills yet to achieve that belief, alright? So think of it like when you see these, what do you call these guys who walk around knocking on doors and a Jehovah's Witness or something? And they literally preach the word of God or whatever it is. They don't know, they can't prove that God exists, right? But they have a belief, they have faith. And no one questions their integrity because their actions prove that they believe what they believe. And that's noble, that's respectable, that's admirable. Because a lot of the time, if you do it the wrong way, if you build a personal brand the wrong way, you come across as an imposter, right? And you don't want to come across as an imposter, yeah? So keep that in mind. So think of what's that belief in your head of how life should be. Now, a lot of the time it's going to stem from your dreams, I've learned. So this might be a bit too deep, and I don't want to spend much time going into this. I'm just going to briefly give you like a bird's eye view of how I view it. I think everything is downstream from your why. Downstream from your why is your dream. Downstream from your dream is... Anyway, I don't want to go into that, but just keep that in mind. So, be able to clearly communicate what you believe to be true. So let me give you an example with me. I believe that Thailand, I built a Thailand travel brand, that Thailand, after traveling 42 countries, being all over the world, living in 5 different countries, that Thailand is what freedom feels like, right? Now, I didn't come up with that slogan right from the very beginning. It sort of evolved as my messaging got clearer and clearer. So don't be afraid to do it imperfectly at the first time, because you're going to evolve and your messaging is going to become more and more refined, which is how it works. But you need to get started. So my slogan is Thailand, which is a noun, right, in brackets, means what freedom feels like. That's the definition. So I built a Thailand brand called Thailuminati, which means a group of people who also believe that Thailand is what freedom feels like. So me personally, that is a belief that I've had. Now it started off with travel, I wanted to build a life that reflects my biggest motivation, which was travel. And I wanted to design a life around that. So, around my passion. And for me, the best way to do that was through building a brand around travel. So I picked Thailand, and eventually everything sort of came together, and I sort of started piecing the different parts of a brand and learning digital marketing. And I went from $0 to $1,000 days in just 45 days, and the rest is history. So next time you're thinking of, okay, well, I wanna surface something that I believe it's you mightn't actually get it on the first try, but you wanna come up with like 2 or 3 ideas of what you believe is your strongest why in life. For me, it was travel. For you, it might be something else. But you want to try to build a brand around that thing. So anyway, back to you got a belief, you got a story. You need to be able to have a marketing message where people can immediately skim in 1 second and know what it is your brand stands for. Or another way of saying that is what does your brand believe in, to see if they also believe in it. And you also need to have an enemy. Okay? I know I'm repeating this, but it's important. Okay? So like when I repeat myself over and over, it's not because I'm trying to be annoying, it's because I just find that when I repeat myself more, it emphasizes how important this point is. Okay? So I can't stress this enough. You need all 3. Yeah? Now, those are like the main pieces of your personal brand, and that should keep you busy. Now zooming out, I want to talk about what I personally think are like the 2 main paths of being able to achieve your dream life. And this isn't like me trying to, pretend that I have everything figured out and I'm this expert or guru or no. I'm just a guy who's learning and sharing what I've learned online. So 2 paths to achieving your dream life, which I wish I knew sooner. Okay? You've got part 1, and it doesn't have to be in order. Part 1 is becoming the person you need to become in order to achieve your dreams. Okay? Meaning, who you are right now is not the person who you will be when you achieve your dreams. So the version you are now needs to die in order for the new version to be born. Now, in my personal experience, that's the hardest of the 2 parts. And it's the one that took me the longest to achieve. Part 2 is the how-to. The mechanism, the vehicle, the strategy, the system, the formula. Right? And a lot of what people do, you see like other coaches you might follow, they sell you the how-to, the system, the vehicle. Because people think, oh, if I just knew how to click here, write these things, post these things, and follow like a step-by-step system, they're gonna become successful. Right? In my experience, like no matter how hard I tried and how much I wanted that to be true, it breaks my heart that it never worked out that way. Right? So, 2 parts. You need to become the person who will be able to achieve your dream life. And I think that took me like 10 times longer than actually learning the steps, the skills, the branding, the digital marketing, the strategies and shit. So, ideally, you want to expedite the process of becoming that person as quickly as possible, since that's the hardest one. Like when I start my mornings, I always like to do the hardest thing first. So I think that's a good rule of thumb. Always do the hardest thing. Always do the hardest thing first. Now, and I used to think, this is personal as well. So I used to think that I was willing to do what it took, because even I've realized that people lie to themselves. I used to lie to myself. And this might be this might go off topic, but I think one of the secrets to life is to speak your truth and act it out. And sometimes you don't even know what your truth is, so you need to admit that you don't know yourself, you don't know what your truth is, in order to figure out what you believe your truth to be, to then speak the truth and act it out. Because you know how they say the truth will set you free, and I'm not religious, right? But I think that has served me. Anyway, so I used to be this kid, this 19-year-old kid, who was really obsessed with self-help and personal development. I used to listen to all the guys, like Jim Rohn, Tai Lopez, like all Gary Vee, all of them. Yeah, especially the motivational speakers. And I used to think, I used to read all the books, read one book a week, listen to all the podcasts. I used to hit the gym. I used to abstain from like watching Netflix and movies, and I stopped playing video games. I was like, I'm not gonna be playing video games until I achieve my goals, my dream life. Until then, I haven't played a video game since. And I used to believe that, wow, I'm the guy who's doing what it takes, who's actually going out of his comfort zone and taking the necessary action. And it turns out I was deluding myself. I was kidding myself. I remember when I was working in a restaurant in Germany, and I had this idea in my head of, I'm this kind of person who does these things, and that makes me different. And then I was back at this fucking restaurant job, working in a kitchen, like 14-hour shifts on the weekends, and I looked around at everyone, thinking, I'm different. And then I was like, hold on, what exactly am I doing that makes me different? Besides this idea, this belief in my head, what exactly am I doing that makes me different than these people, besides the fucking idea of who I think I am? I'm like, nothing. I wasn't doing anything that made me different from the people who I viewed as just unambitious and not worthy of any admiration, or people I didn't want to aspire to be like and model, people I didn't look up to. And I was like, wow, besides this idea, this delusional idea that I'm somewhat, more developed, I wasn't taking the uncomfortable actions. So I just want to put that out there, because I've fallen victim to that as well, where I consume all these self-help stuff and I don't actually take the action that needs to be taken in order to become the person that you need to become to achieve your dreams. So maybe it's valuable to you. I know it's personal, maybe you mightn't care, but oftentimes I've found that when you hear someone else's story, even if it doesn't apply 100%, you could sort of like, something else clicks, and I don't know, maybe that helps. So back to the two parts. So I've taken so many different programs, so many different mentorships, and you realize that 99.9% of the material that's inside of those programs are literally watered down versions of a handful, and they're literally just regurgitated information, watered down regurgitated information from The people who actually know what they're talking about. Okay? And I didn't realize that until investing in so many different programs, until I came across programs that really, literally, now, even the ones that didn't make that much of a difference, at the time, they were really, really eye-opening. And I thought, yeah, this is, wow, this is it. But that's the thing, you don't know when you don't know, right? So that's why you need to take advice from people who've actually done enough, so that, because then they have the ability, the pattern recognition to determine, okay, this is actually super valuable, whereas I know you might think that this idea is good, but it's not. So yeah, pattern recognition. So when it comes to starting your personal brand, getting the information, getting the strategies, learning what you need to do is, in terms of work, you could pretty much get all the information you need in about 3 months. Yeah? Becoming the person you need to become in order to achieve your dreams, for me, it took too fucking long, and I don't want it to take that long for you. It depends how much effort, work you're committed to putting in, but I've noticed that when you literally burn all the boats, you go all in to the point where you've used all your resources, where there's no turning back, then that's when rubber meets the road, and you can expedite the process of becoming the person you need to become to achieve your dreams. So you need to just be that person who has faith and that it's going to work out for you. And yeah, you need to have belief in yourself that you are able to be the person who achieves those big dreams of yours. And so this is why a lot of the time you buy a program, or at least I've bought a program with the information, implemented the information, and it did nothing. It didn't do nothing, but I didn't get to my goals. So that's why you want both. You want the information, the steps, the strategies, but you also want, that's where coaching comes in. Because being able to get close to someone who's actually done it, so you can adopt their mindset, their behavioral patterns, their way of thinking, their worldview, it rubs off. Success leaves clues. Jim Rohn used to always say this, right? Success leaves clues. So you wanna have someone you can get close to, so that shit rubs off. And me personally, like, because I've paid for coaching, and I used to think, oh yeah, the information that I'm gonna get is what's gonna help me get the breakthrough. Bro, the information didn't do shit. The information did nothing. Absolutely fucking zero. But what it did, it helped me change who I was. And it helped me improve the person and get closer to that version who I needed to become in order to achieve my dream life. And that alone, bro, that alone is worth the investment of getting a coach. So that's why when I'm pitching my coaching offer to you, I'm not going to be selling you the information, even though, bro, I've got all the steps. I've taken all the programs. I've taken the fucking good programs to the point where I can teach you without you having to spend $3,000 on one, bro. I've probably invested in like 12 fucking coaching programs. So I can teach you all the information you need, which is evergreen, by the way, because yeah, most of the things you need to learn, they never expire. They never go obsolete, because it's human psychology, it's marketing, it's branding, it's basic stuff. I know it sounds intimidating. It's not, but it's not. It's really not that difficult once you understand it from someone who can explain it the right way to you, and who actually cares about what they're doing, because they have a belief that overrides the other coaches who are just money hungry. And yeah, just be careful, bro, when you're choosing your coach and who you're investing in, because bro, I see a lot of these people who help people grow on social media, and they're super narcissistic, and like, I'm genuinely curious. I know for a fact that a lot of their students don't get any results, not in terms of information, and not in terms of becoming the person who they need to become in order to achieve their dreams. So that's why, for me, the biggest selling point that I would emphasize with you is, bro, if you want to become a different person, if you want to think differently, if you want to overcome like those fears and inhibitions, those insecurities, and you want to grow into a different character who you can be proud of when you look back, and you want to live a life of freedom, where not just in terms of location freedom or financial freedom, but I mean freedom in all areas of life. Because I'm a person who believes that you can never truly be free if you don't overcome your fears. So you need to overcome your fears in order to experience true freedom. Right? Me personally, it was the fear of speaking on camera. And I made a video about this. Oftentimes the thing you enjoy doing the most used to be the thing you used to be most afraid of. And it's a beautiful thing when it's empowering, when you become the person. And I never really, like, I did at first, but then I thought I took the action and then nothing happened, and I was like, oh, this shit doesn't work. Turns out it does, bro. It does. And I'm even thinking, like, I believe so much in this, in how this can change someone's life, that I'm actually thinking of, and let me know if you think I should do this, of hosting an in-person event where people fly down to Thailand, we meet up, we rent out a villa, okay? Because you see, these in-person experiences, those are the things that's really gonna change who you are. Truly, there's hands down. Once you start rubbing shoulders, and I think I figured out why it works. It's because, have you ever read the book The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck? So in the book, he says, which is so true, you cannot stop giving a fuck, okay? We evolved to give a fuck, okay? Anyone who says I don't give a fuck, they don't know what they're saying, okay? The trick is, you need to know what to give a fuck about, and only give fucks about that thing, right? So the logic there is, when you're surrounded by people who are on the same mission as you, and you shadow these people, like if you were to come to Thailand and meet up, and it'd be all of us in a villa, and you were to rub shoulders and see that we're all on the same mission, suddenly now you're in a community of people where you only give a fuck about what they think of you and not what everyone else thinks of you. And then that's the unlock, right? Because now when you pick up the camera to record a video, you don't care what the rest of the world thinks, you just care what these group of guys are thinking of you, and everyone's thinking that you need to just fucking stop being a pussy, man up, grow up here, do what needs to be done, and not regret when you're 85, right? So let me know if you think I should do that, if you'd be interested in meeting up in Thailand, because I think people who want the biggest transformation, they're willing to invest in in-person experiences. Yeah? I mean, even like, bro, even when it comes to, I see these coaches, these dating coaches online, and I personally never felt the need to invest in like a course about how to approach women, because I knew that I just need to do it. Yeah? Like, just by doing it, you learn how to do it, even if you do it badly. For me, it only made sense to actually invest in learning that skill in person. Truly, bro. Truly. So, yeah, I think maybe next year we make a trip where I get like, I don't know, 6 to 12 guys, girls, maybe if you want to come along. I don't want to exclude anyone, but most of my audience are guys. So get together like 6 to 12 guys, rent out a villa. I'll plan out a whole bunch of activities, and we could actually just lock in, go deep, start filming content. It's gonna be like a mastermind. It's gonna be epic. Gonna be epic. And like I said, you can pay for 2 transformations, 2 things, 2 parts. Either the information, which is what most of these coaches sell, but without the other piece of you becoming the person you need to be in order to achieve your dreams, it's not gonna work out. And trust me, I'm a much harder worker than most of the people I've met. And if I couldn't pull it off without having those 2 parts locked in, like, good luck. Maybe you're the exception to the rule. Maybe it's like I used to tell people, like, sure, I don't know if you need to read books to be successful, but most successful people read books. And unless I know for a fact that I'm an exception to the rule and I'm 1 in a million, which I'm not, bro, I'm gonna start reading books. And I think the main benefit of reading books, which I'm an advocate of, is first of all, it keeps you going, because every time you read a new book you get inspired, you get new ideas that helps build on your creativity, which facilitates you coming up with better and better ideas every single time. But I wouldn't say they were directly responsible for my breakthroughs, but I would say that they were directly responsible for me having the mindset that kept me on track, kept me motivated, kept me going during the hard times. Because, bro, eventually you get brainwashed, positively brainwashed. So I don't know if you can, bro, go on my Instagram, scroll through my highlights. I don't know if I've archived it or not. I'll unarchive it. There's a free PDF I've put together. This was years ago, bro, where I put together like my top 50 or 60 or YouTube videos. Bro, I used to listen to those videos on repeat over and over and over and over, to the point where I almost knew every single word. And then after years went by, and then I would have a belief or like a reason why I will make a decision or won't make a decision. And then I was like, but why do I think that, why do I know that I should do this? And then I was like, I went to the bottom and I realized, it's because of these videos I used to listen to way back when, that I just memorized on a subconscious level, and now I'm just acting out those principles, those frameworks in real life. So yeah, definitely, bro. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. I want to cut this video short because it's been like 40 minutes and I'm getting burnt at the office right now. That's the thing, bro, like traveling and being able to film a video like this on the beach, like, it doesn't feel like work. It does not feel like work. Like, if you build a brand the right way, filming a video, a talking head video like this, once you develop the skill, and I'm telling you, but the quickest way to do that is by shadowing people, hopping on a coaching call, locking in, and just getting really close to people who actually have the skills that you want to get your dream life, that you know will get you your dream life, you know? And being able to not get distracted by shiny object syndrome and, oh yeah, this next thing looks shiny, and this, because I used to fall victim to that too. I used to be like, yeah, but this other business model, this other strategy is way better because You know, it doesn't require me to do the difficult things that I need to do, but here I am thinking, oh, I'm the guy who puts everything, yeah, you know, and goes out of his comfort. No, I wasn't the guy. I was kidding myself. And I don't want you to kid yourself. If you're not taking at least don't bullshit yourself. Be say, fuck, I'm not taking the action. I'm not doing what I need to do. So, yeah, bro. I think I'm gonna go for a swim and then head back. Now I have a couple ideas of videos I want to make for my next post, which, bro, there's so much I want to share about what I've learned, not just while traveling, not just when it comes to reading people, knowing what to look out for, red flags, when it comes to who to befriend, who to start dating, but also when it comes to digital marketing, personal branding, posting on social media, going viral, building a brand, building a business, putting together an offer, making money online, you know, growing your email list. Like, there's so much which it mightn't sound exciting to you now because you don't have the foundational piece set up yet, which is your story, your belief, your enemy, and the things I mentioned earlier in this video. But once you have that set up, bro, suddenly you're not just building a personal brand, you're building an entire life, movement, community, a tribe. You're building something that represents an idea that's gonna outlive you. Yeah? And that fucking gets me excited. Like, trust me, it's one of those things where you finally connect the dots and you finally, I don't want to say you feel enlightened because people are going to think I'm spiritual, which I'm not. But you get so much clarity and you get so much confidence that, like, it's like you're already successful, bro. It's like you're already, like, because you feel that time is just an illusion and you're already successful, but in the future. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain. And when I say successful, bro, I mean to the heights that you can't even yet imagine, bro. Truly, like, and when you start getting a taste of your potential, you realize that it's limitless. Like, I don't want to sound too rah-rah, but bro, once you start tasting and actually actualizing that potential that you have buried, that you have buried inside of you because of all your fears and insecurities and limiting beliefs. I remember talking about limiting beliefs, bro. I remember meeting people and talking to them, and it's like it wasn't until I had actually outgrown certain limiting beliefs that I realized, wow, so many people have limiting beliefs about themselves and what they can accomplish, and it holds them back so much. And also, what helps to break those limiting beliefs is actually being deserving of breaking those limiting beliefs, which is just putting in the action, putting in the work. So, like, if I hadn't done the shit that I've done in my 20s, why would I have felt deserving of being the person to actually give advice on the internet and speak on a topic? It's because I actually fucking was in the trenches. I actually did the shit. So yeah, it's both. You gotta have work ethic, but before you get the work ethic, you need to actually have the mindset that's gonna sustain the work ethic. Because a lot of people just start and then after 2 weeks they give up. Let me give you another example of what I mean here. Sort of like with AI. You hear that AI is going to revolutionize the world and it's going to take everybody's jobs, but then that narrative becomes so mainstream, right? That you hear it over and over and over, and it's on repeat, and then eventually you become desensitized to it. so that after a while it becomes, yeah, I've heard that before, yeah, whatever, like, and you don't truly, what would you say? You don't truly, it doesn't make the impact that it once did at the very beginning, and you sort of like dismiss it because you've heard it so many times. I think that is what happens a lot. So you start something, you realize, yeah, learning this one skill could change my life, and I see it, I envision it. But after a week or two where you know you don't see the results, or you hear the same message over and over and over, you become desensitized to it, and then it sort of doesn't impact you the way it once did, and then you just sort of like lose motivation and give up. So yeah, so if I were to summarize this video, don't forget the two parts I mentioned. Okay, one is having the information, the other is becoming the person who could actually implement the information. All right, a lot of that is literally just overcoming your fears, limiting beliefs, getting the courage, putting the reps in, and being the person who could do the difficult, challenging things. Now, I'm also a believer in doubling down on strengths, right? Like, you don't want to dismiss that, but I've also, through experience, learned that you also need to do the hard things, because doing those hard things is what's gonna, think of it like this, bro. Your opposites are your weaknesses, and the truth is always somewhere in the middle. And by working on your weaknesses, which is simply your opposite, so like if you know you're really good at this thing, you need to do more of the thing you're not good at in order to balance yourself out, to find the truth. And trust me on this, I don't want to go too deep, because this is like another 2-hour conversation, right? Which I've learned, bro, from, I'm telling you, one of these courses, bro, that I took. I was like, bro, all other courses are just watered down versions of this one guy's course. And he explains that what you're avoiding is the thing that you need to do to become the person who will hit your goals. So yeah, 2 parts: info and becoming the person, right? Start your personal brand, come up with your why, take one day and just word dump all your thoughts about your story, come up with your story, come up with your belief, come up with your enemy, be able to clearly explain to people. You can brainstorm with ChatGPT, be like, all right, well, what does my brand believe in? What does my brand stand for? What's like the main core marketing message that surfaces what my brand stands for and what it stands against? What's the heaven I'm running towards, the brand, and what's the hell I'm running away from, right? What is my brand's enemy? Because once you're able to define your brand's enemy, and you surface that in your content, then you're gonna develop a cult-like following, and that is what you want. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. I'm gonna go for a swim, and yeah, let me know what other topics you want me to share my experience on, because bro, like, I could talk fucking endlessly about these things. And yeah, if you wanna get personalized coaching and you want to grow your brand and you want my help, DM me the word brand. I'll reach out, we'll hop on a call, we'll lock in 3 months, bro. 3 months, that's all you need. And let me know if you want to actually meet up in person in Thailand in an in-person event, right? Because like I said, like, those are the things that's literally gonna change your life. From like, the difference is like night and day, bro, trust me. So and it's not just about building a personal brand, it's about building a personal brand that's a reflection of who you are, your individuality, your strengths, you know? Building a brand that excites you to wake up in the morning. Building a brand you're passionate about, something that energizes you, something you're curious about. Something, and you might even be afraid of doing it, but think of the things you do when you're with friends on a Saturday night and you catch yourself doing that thing effortlessly, non-stop, without running out of things to say. Whatever that thing is, bro. You might even be afraid of doing it in public and making videos about it. There's no feeling more rewarding than overcoming that fear and actually pursuing that. It's the most character developing thing you can do with your life. And I hope that inspires you to kind of wish someone had made a video like this for me when I was getting started. But you know what they say, it's like turn your mess into your message. And there's another one. Think of your purpose as your passion in the service of others. Or what was it? Think of your passion as your purpose in the service of others. Something like that. So, yeah, bro. Don't give up. And yeah, let me know. Maybe one day I'll meet you up in Thailand and it'll be epic, bro. Cheers.